This just in, Diddy is guilty on only 2 of the 5 charges. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I'm Andy Signore. We are live. I'm with It's Kim. We're waiting for Christopher Melcher and others, but the news is in. You can watch us react to it live and our full conversation over there. But I wanted to give you a very quick, concise answer as to what happened. They have found Sean Diddy Combs guilty on 2 of the charges. I'm going to go to the charges so you understand which ones. Guilty on count 2 and guilty on count 5. He was not guilty on the others. So just so you understand which ones he's guilty on, it was 3 and 5. He's guilty of the workers. Basically, these ex-workers, we're going to call them, transporting those workers across state lines. They agreed he did that. They can't deny that, which thank God they at least acknowledge that, because we always saw that as duh. They weren't hanging out for friend's sake. He was bringing these workers in. Now, they didn't feel like Cassie and Jane were workers. They didn't feel like they were being taken around. That was always one that I think, especially with Jane, that I'm not fully surprised on. I'm disappointed by it, to be clear. I'm not fully surprised on it, but their lack of a guilty verdict on 2 or 4 also affected, number 1, the racketeering charge, which was the one that was the holdout. And it's the maximum one. It's the most important one in a way. And he clearly was guilty of one of they only needed 2 racketeering charges. There's, 6, Kim? 6 different sort of, categories that if he's guilty of 2 of those, yes, then he's guilty of RICO. And one of them, they agreed, he was these workers over across the lines. That's RICO. And to me, the fact that they didn't see the pills and all the substances as the second count, which all it takes is 2, as the prosecution told them, they decided, no, we're not going to count that. Nor were they going to count the bribery or the kidnapping or all the other countless things that clearly, I think the government did a very good job showing them. They decided no. Now, I asked Christopher Melcher, he's on CBS doing big news interviews, etc. But here were his comments. I asked, what does this actually mean and how much time will Diddy actually serve? I hope you're sitting down, folks who wanted justice, because he suspects, while there's no minimum, the maximum is 10 years. And so he thinks sentencing, which will happen in about 30 days, or maybe a little bit more, he suspects Diddy will get 3 to 5 years. That's it. 3 to 5 years, and he will get credit for time served. He gets 54 days of good behavior credit per year against the sentence. It's a compromised verdict because of the holdouts on the more serious charges. Chris's thoughts: the government overcharged with RICO, which was a mistake. I asked, what do you mean by that compromised verdict? Some jurors probably wanted to convict on trafficking and or RICO. Others did not agree with that. To reach the verdict, the juries had to compromise or it would be deadlocked. And so that's clearly what happened. There were jurors who clearly felt it was racketeering, and there were jurors that didn't. And there's a 4th of July holiday that's holding out that people have been there a long time, Kim. And it sounds like these jurors wanted to go home. They didn't want to keep sitting there and be deadlocked and figure this out. So they gave in. They gave in on this. And they decided, well, yeah, he's bringing in these workers. And they clearly, I think, thought 2 and 4. Well, here's what's interesting. They must have agreed to that early on. So the deadlock was on 1. So they didn't think they were trafficked, but they clearly thought there was racketeering in some regard, is how I can sort of judge based on what we know on the jurors' react. So let's not forget, they came in yesterday with the verdict on all 2 and 5. So I find it hard to believe they would have swapped the verdict on 2 and 4. So it seems to me they were all set in their ways of, no, I don't agree, Cassie and Jane. I don't agree, but fine. But clearly they were arguing that racketeering charge. And my question, Kim, is do you think they really fully understood it? Because as Chris is saying, it's a complicated charge. Diddy and Free Diddy peeps have been out there doing a great job at muddying the waters, trying to complicate. This ain't RICO. This ain't RICO. When it clearly legally is, whether you agree with the law or not. They did a very good job of saying you only need 2. And they found him guilty of the individuals working, the ex-workers, but they ignored the pills, which is something they asked about, right, Kim? Didn't they ask for transfer specifically about the substances?
Yes. I'm honestly, I'm not sure. I felt like they had proved their case, but clearly the jury did not. Keeping up with updates that are coming in at this moment, the judge has said he needs time to consider whether or not Sean Combs can walk out of the courthouse today and be granted bail as he awaits his sentencing. which will likely be happening in the coming weeks, months or so. So we don't really have an update at this point on how that's going to go, but
Wow. That's
I
just
personally
breaking.
am
Yeah, just Chris
surprised.
just texted me that too.
Yeah,
He could walk out on $1 million bond because
that's
now
what they are
they've
proposing.
let's be fair. The prosecution went hard, Kim. He's a threat. Da 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 da. He's been doing this, and I believe it. To be fair, I'm not trying to say I don't believe it, but here's where things get interesting. The jury said he's not. So should they keep locking him up and while he waits for this for clearly what's going to be a lesser charge? Defendant faces a maximum sentence of 20 years while faced with this case, the assault, blah, 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 in New York, preparing to surrender. I'm not going to resolve this second. I need to review the statutes. Mr. Comey, do you have a case in which bail was denied after conviction under the Mann Act? You may confer and come back. We plan to be here all today. So today's, we'll let you know. Here's the twist, Kim. Even though Diddy's not guilty, not guilty on all charges, he could walk today. He could walk today. That sickens me. That sickens me. After everything we know he's done, all the threats that are facing, this explains why more people didn't come forward, Kim. This is why people don't come forward. Once again, the power is in control. I am shocked. I am shocked. How do they not see the substances as Puerto Rico? The arson, the bribery. It was clear as day. The kidnapping. I think there are going to be people on this jury that come forward and reveal a lot more. They're going to have egg on their face, and they're going to realize once they look at it more broadly and understand, which they did in that chair, I wonder if there will be some other sort of justice that can be happen, mistrials, etc., based on what was told. Was there someone in that jury? I just find it so hard to believe that there were a majority of people on that jury this confident that fast, Kim. Does that surprise you too?
It's all of this I find very surprising. All of it I'm finding very, very surprising. Just as I've watched every second of this trial, I do find all of it to be surprising and a bit overwhelming at this moment, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because again, and I see chat on both sides telling us we're crazy. I'm not being crazy. We've had multiple lawyers on. Nate, the lawyer, eloquently spoke it out with his chart. It was RICO. Now, I agree with a lot of people who are confused by RICO, the what RICO is and all that and why it's confusing, etc. But the reality of this is it was RICO. Based on the law and the things that they needed to prove, they did. And it's clear the jury just didn't see it. The jury didn't agree. Now, I would love to hear some jury speak out, and I'm sure one of them's gonna.
Yes.
So this case is now far from over. We have a whole day to now decide to hear whether he's gonna walk. Diddy could walk today, guys. Whoo! I'm shook, man. I want to get this out, though. There it is. There's your breaking news. We're still live, probably talking about this, so come join us. We'll be hanging this afternoon discussing the outcome of this and the things that are teetering in. Will Diddy walk? That's the latest. Make sure you hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the button for all alerts and hit that thumbs up as well. A lot more news is coming. Plus, the Blake Lively subpoena. I'm all over the press this morning, Kim. It's everywhere. I've gotten 4 other outlets asking for comment. We got a lot to talk about regarding that as well, so stay tuned. We need your support now more than ever. Join over at PopcornedPlanet.com. Become a member today. Check out the documentaries. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now,